Have you ever stood in front of the mirror and asked yourself, why am I always the one who reaches out first? Why are you always the one picking up the phone, opening the chat and sending the first message? And why is it that the moment you decide to stay silent and see what happens, the conversation dies completely and nobody even checks on you? That feeling hurts, doesn't it? It makes you feel unwanted, like you're forcing yourself into people's lives while they barely notice your value. And then the dangerous questions begin to crawl into your mind. Am I not important to them? Do I have no value? Am I just hard to love? But listen carefully. Throw those negative thoughts away, because the real problem is not you. It's not your personality. It's not your kind heart or your energy. The real problem is simple. You're playing the game without understanding the rules. Now, what if I told you there are a few powerful psychological tricks, incredibly simple ones, that can completely flip the situation? Tricks that can make even the coldest, most distant person start chasing your attention. They'll be the one thinking about what to text you. They'll be the one opening the conversation first, and they'll be the one waiting impatiently for your reply. But before we dive deeper, if you enjoy this kind of content and want more videos about relationships, human psychology, and understanding people on a deeper level, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss what's coming next. Now, focus with me carefully. Grab a cup of coffee or tea. Disconnect from the noise of the world for a few minutes, because today we are going deep inside the human mind to understand how the subconscious really works. And today, we're going to use a few psychological principles that can finally shift the balance in your favor. From this moment on, you'll stop being the one who chases and become the one people chase instead. Imagine this for a second. You walk past an all-you-can-eat buffet. The food is always there, completely free, available anytime you want it. Would you obsess over it? Would you sit there desperately waiting for the next chance to eat? Of course not, because your brain already feels guaranteed access to it. You might skip 1 meal, 2 meals, maybe even 3, simply because you know it's always available whenever you feel hungry. Now here's the uncomfortable truth. The exact same thing happens in human relationships. Most people make a massive mistake, usually out of love, attachment, or even loneliness. They become too available. A message arrives, and they reply within seconds, to the point where the other person feels like they literally live inside the chat. Someone asks them to hang out, and they immediately say yes before the sentence even ends, even if they already had plans. And without realizing it, they hand over all their cards from the very beginning. Human psychology has always worked the same way. People value what requires effort. But the things that feel guaranteed, the things that are always available, slowly lose emotional value over time. So if you're always the one starting conversations, you're secretly sending a message to the other person's subconscious mind. I'll always be here. You don't have to work for my attention. You're my priority no matter what. And that's exactly where emotional distance begins. The cold replies, the delayed messages, the feeling that you're slowly being taken for granted. If you want someone to start chasing the conversation, you first need to remove the feeling that your presence is guaranteed. Because scarcity creates value. Anything rare feels important. Anything constantly available becomes ordinary. And this isn't just a rule in relationships, it's a rule of life itself. You need to become someone who actually has a life. When you're busy improving yourself, building your goals, going to the gym, developing hobbies, enjoying your own world, your replies naturally become less immediate. You stop waiting for notifications like your happiness depends on them. And the moment you disappear a little, something interesting happens inside the other person's mind. They begin to feel your absence. Where did they go? Why are they suddenly busy? Am I no longer their priority? And those questions create emotional curiosity. That curiosity is what makes them pick up the phone and message you first, just to make sure they still matter in your world. Now here's another powerful psychological truth. No matter how humble or quiet someone seems, almost everyone loves talking about themselves, their achievements, their struggles, their childhood memories, their opinions about life. And here's what's fascinating. When people talk about themselves, the brain releases dopamine, the chemical connected to pleasure and reward. In simple terms, they literally feel good while talking to you. So how do you use this? Simple. Stop trying so hard to impress people. Stop trying to prove that you're the most interesting person in the room. Instead of trying to prove that you can do everything or that you're the most impressive person in the room, become genuinely interested in the other person. Focus on them. Ask smart, open-ended questions that make them want to talk about themselves. Don't ask boring, predictable questions like, "How was your day?" or "What's up?" Ask questions that touch emotions and memories instead. Questions like, "What's a moment in your life that made you truly proud of yourself?" Or, "If you could go back 5 years, what decision would you never make again?" And when they start talking, listen. Really listen. Listen with your ears, your eyes, and your full attention. Don't listen just to prepare your next response. Listen to understand. Because when someone connects your presence to the good feeling they experience while expressing themselves, when they feel that you're one of the rare people who truly understands them and gives them emotional space, trust me, they'll start looking for you in the middle of all the noise just to talk to you again. Because being around you starts to feel safe, comfortable, addictive. You become associated with that emotional relief. But now comes the most powerful shift of all. Human psychology is obsessed with unfinished things. People remember what was left incomplete far more than what was fully finished. Think about your favorite TV series. Imagine the episode ending right at the most intense moment. The hero opens the door, the screen suddenly cuts to black, and the words appear, "To be continued." What happens next? You spend the entire week thinking about that episode, waiting impatiently for the next one. And that's exactly the same principle you should use in conversations. One of the biggest mistakes people make is talking until the energy completely dies. The conversation slowly becomes, "Yeah, true, exactly. All right then." Until one person finally says, "Okay, I should sleep now." Never do that again. Instead, end the conversation while the energy is still high, while you're both laughing, while the connection feels exciting, while the conversation is flowing naturally. Then, suddenly and politely, leave. Say something like, "Wow, time flew by talking to you. I'm actually enjoying this conversation a lot, but I need to go handle something important right now." And then add one final psychological hook. "By the way, I was about to tell you something really interesting related to this topic. I'll tell you next time we talk." Now you've planted a question mark inside their mind, and their brain will keep replaying the conversation. What were they about to say? Why did the conversation end right when it got good? You left the emotional loop open, and the human brain hates open loops, which means the natural result is simple. They'll be the one texting you first next time, just to continue the conversation or finally hear what you were going to say. And there's another incredibly powerful technique, especially during calls, face-to-face conversations, or even texting. The subconscious mind naturally feels safer around people who seem similar to us. So if you want someone to feel comfortable with you without even understanding why, subtly mirror their energy. But do it naturally. Don't make it obvious. If they speak calmly and softly, lower your tone slightly and match their calmness. If they speak with energy and use a lot of body language, match that energy.
Be expressive, be engaged. If they're sitting in a certain relaxed way and later make a small movement, naturally mirror it without making it obvious. Even in texting, this principle works. If they send short messages, keep your replies shorter too. If they usually take 10 or 15 minutes to respond, don't reply instantly every single time. Match their rhythm naturally. The subconscious mind notices these signals faster than people realize, and it quietly translates them into one powerful message. This person feels like me. This person understands my world. I feel strangely comfortable around them. And that emotional comfort is what breaks down walls and makes someone search for the next excuse to talk to you again. Now let's talk about something extremely important. People get bored of anything that stays emotionally predictable for too long. If you're always available, always nice, always giving the same energy, eventually you become expected. But if you're always distant and mysterious, you become emotionally exhausting, and people slowly walk away. The secret is balance. When you're talking to someone, give them your full attention. Make them feel like they matter in that moment. Laugh with them, engage with them, show genuine interest. But afterward, return to your real life. Stay busy. Keep your replies simple sometimes. Don't constantly try to force new conversations every single day. That contrast between emotional presence and natural absence creates tension inside the other person's mind. They begin wondering, what changed? How do I bring back that amazing energy we had? And that emotional challenge is what pulls people closer. You're leaving space for them to step forward instead of doing all the emotional work yourself. But pay attention. This has to be done with emotional intelligence, not arrogance. You're not being rude. You're not ignoring people to manipulate them. You're simply stepping back enough to allow the other person the chance to move toward you too. Now, if you want to apply all of this practically, here's a simple challenge. For one full week, stop initiating conversations. Zero chasing. If you usually send good morning every day, stop. If you constantly reply to every story or status they post, watch silently without reacting. That small absence creates a psychological shift, and suddenly their mind starts asking questions. Where did they go? Why do things feel different? Are they upset? Did someone else enter their life? The empty space you leave behind is what makes them think about you again. And here's the second rule. When they finally reach out first, never act bitter. Don't say things like, "Oh wow, you finally remembered me. Look who decided to text back." Those lines instantly reveal that you were sitting there emotionally waiting for them. Instead, stay calm, positive, relaxed. Make it feel natural, like you've simply been busy living your life. Because one of the most attractive things about any human being is having a life that feels full and meaningful without depending on someone else's attention. And finally, when the conversation reaches its peak, when they're fully engaged, laughing, emotionally connected, and enjoying the interaction they started themselves, leave intelligently. Keep the emotional door slightly open. Drop a sentence with a little mystery in it. Tell them you need to go for now, but you'll continue the conversation later. Let curiosity do the work for you. Because if you combine all these psychological ideas together, you won't just make them start the conversation first. You'll make them invest emotional energy just to keep your attention and maintain their place in your life. At that point, you stop being someone who is endlessly available and become someone with value. Someone with a life, a presence, a sense of mystery. And human nature will always be attracted to what feels slightly out of reach, while slowly losing excitement for what feels completely guaranteed. At the end of the day, my friend, human relationships cannot be forced. Real attention can't be begged for. Real interest cannot be demanded. It has to be built naturally. And once you understand how the other person's mind works, once you understand the psychology behind attention, attraction, and emotional connection, you can move through relationships much more intelligently without sacrificing your dignity or draining your emotional energy. And let's make one thing clear. This is not about becoming toxic. This is not about manipulating people or playing cruel emotional games. The real goal is to protect yourself from emotional exhaustion, to raise your value, and to understand that your time and presence actually matter. The people who truly want access to your energy and your attention should also be willing to show effort and genuine interest. Now the ball is in your court. Try it. Stop rushing. Leave a little space. Let people talk about themselves. And leave conversations while the energy is still beautiful. You'll be shocked by what happens next. The person you used to chase, the one you waited on for a single message, will slowly become the one searching for an excuse to text you first. Raise your value, understand the game, and learn to use the psychology of human connection in a smart, respectful, and powerful way.